Christy Code Red, author, entrepreneur, retired professional boxer. Ha 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 ha. You guys should catch me on Instagram. I did a little boxing on Instagram. Did you see that? It's cool. It's cool. If you want to see me box, go make sure you go follow me on Instagram. So, interesting story. I remembered this. Sometimes I will have periodic memories come up of things, like back years ago, long before we had, really the internet functioning the way it is now, and Facebook and things to store our memories. I don't remember a lot of stuff. And back when I was training Katie Couric in New York City, I didn't think to get a picture of this. We just didn't think like that back then. So I have a story that came to my mind that is interesting because it has to do with you. Yes, it does. Back in 95, 94, 95, 96, about 25 years ago, roughly, I can't remember the exact year, I was living in Jacksonville, North Carolina. As you guys know, I hooked up with a guy after high school, and he ended up being a horrific man, absolutely, and to this day still is absolutely horrific, manipulative, abusive, a thief. He was just horrible. So we had a motorcycle. And we had a car. So we had a car and a motorcycle. And at that point, I didn't know how to ride a motorcycle. I've since learned, I had since learned, and I had owned 5 motorcycles after that, but not before this happened. So one day, I woke up and I had a job. I tell you, I had a job as a telemarketer. Oh, you guys. The jobs that we have held when we were kids. Look, I had a job working for Who's Who, doing phone sales, trying to sell people on the Who's Who publication. You guys remember that? Like Who's Who, and you call them up and you say, you're like worthy enough to be in Who's Who, and do you want to buy this publication? It was horrible, but it was a job, and I needed one desperately, And then I went after that, I got a job as a CNA working in home health. And anyway, at this time, I had the job working in telemarketing, phone sales. Oh. And I woke up one morning and I was supposed to go to work because we worked in a building and we all were lined up with the headphones on and stuff. And he had taken the car to work and left the motorcycle there for me. And I needed to go to work. And my parents raised me with good work ethic. You show up for your job. You don't just not show up. I mean, that was just unfathomable. I would never not show up for a job. And remember, this is 95, I think, so 25 years ago. So I got up and I looked outside and there was that motorcycle and no car. And I did not know how to ride it. I had never taught myself. I had never been taught or I had never learned how to ride a motorcycle. But I needed to go to work. So I needed to take that motorcycle to work. So luckily I was smart enough to put on thick jeans, thick boots, gloves, a helmet, and a leather jacket that I somehow had. I don't know where I got it or what the story was behind that. And I got outside and I started that motorcycle up. It was one of those crotch rockets, those sport bikes, and I took off through our neighborhood. We lived in this dumpy trailer park, the ghetto. And I took off on this motorcycle and I was trying to learn how to ride it through the neighborhood before I got out into traffic. Some of you guys are cringing and you have every right to cringe. I was, popping the clutch. I didn't understand how the throttle worked. I didn't understand how the brake worked. I didn't understand shifting. I didn't understand anything. I just was learning as I went. And I had kind of wobbled a little bit through the neighborhood. And I did a couple of laps through the neighborhood and I ventured out into traffic and I needed to make my way 30 minutes into town. So I stopped at this intersection. And it was a very, very busy intersection. It was huge, or at least it looked huge in my eyes. Thinking back then, I was freaking 19 years old. And I'm at the left turn signal to go left. and the light turns, the arrow turns green, and I go to take off to go left. And I didn't understand the concept of leaning into corners on a motorcycle. Some of you motorcycle riders, you know what I'm saying. I just didn't get it, right? And so I was taking a left and through this huge intersection, and I didn't quite, like, it wasn't turning because I didn't have the lean into it. You don't turn the handlebars, you lean into a turn with the motorcycle, right? I didn't get it, and I overcorrected and gassed it at the same time, and bam, I hit the pavement. I don't know how fast I was going. I was going too fast. I wasn't leaning, and then I leaned too much, and I laid that bike down right in the middle of the intersection. Woo! Bam! And I skidded across the intersection. And there were cars behind me. They were making a left. It was oncoming traffic. They were making a left. We were doing that. Both left arrows going. And man, I laid that bike down, bam, and skidded across the intersection. Everybody came to a screeching halt, you know. Now, this is before I started bodybuilding, so I wasn't nearly as strong as I am now. Of course, I was absolutely scared to death. I was humiliated. I can't believe, looking back, that I did not break a leg and I wasn't hurt. I tore up the front fairing, the left fairing, broke off the light, the blinker. I scraped up the foot peg. I mean, all the way down, just laid that bike down, hit hard, shattered the fiberglass everywhere, all over the intersection. And I can't believe I wasn't hurt, but I wasn't. So the bike was laying down, cars were coming to a screeching halt. And I was humiliated, I was scared, I was running late for work, everything, and I didn't know what to do. And I reached down and I picked that heavy bike up, and I should have Googled how much one of these bikes weigh. I don't know. Miles isn't here. I mean, they're not light. For a young girl and freaking 19-year-old that I've never lifted weights before, like I don't know how strong anyway. I had this overwhelming strength, and I picked that bike up and I started it back off and I took off, and somehow I made it to work, and somehow I made it home. Now, what does all this have to do with you? That bike wreck, that motorcycle wreck, in the middle of that intersection with all those people, and me having to I rolled, and I got up and I grabbed that bike and I was able to lift it up, get back on it without throwing my back out, started up and continue riding to work. I kept a level head. I was strong enough to pick it up without herniating a disc. All of that plays into why I'm standing in front of you today. All of that plays into the reason why I was able to create Code Red and stand in front of you and tell you that story. The strength I gained from that incident molded me into what I am today. Therefore, my strength and my standing in front of you today and my creating Code Red is molding you into what you are today. And therefore, you can go on to affect the lives and shine your light bright. It is a domino effect. All of us showing up, doing what we were created to do in this world, it all adds up. It all makes it's like a domino effect. And if I hadn't have found the strength to pick myself off the middle of the street, pick up that bike and keep going, I might not be standing in front of you today. If I would have just given up, and I know this is a little bit of a far-fetched example, I don't know, maybe not, but it showed me how strong I am. And by me showing myself how strong I am and creating Code Red, I am now showing you how strong you are. And by you showing up for yourself, you are now setting an example for others. It truly is like that. It truly is set up like that. By Natasha coming into my office that day, April 5th, 2016, and hiring me for weight loss, me helping her lose her weight helped her create Unstoppable Influence, because it wasn't Unstoppable Influence back then. It was called Branded. It was a whole different company, a whole different concept, a whole different everything. But because she was able to lose all that weight and show up for herself, she created Unstoppable Influence. and all the people that she's able to help now because of that. So because I showed up and created Code Red, you are now being healed, and you are showing up for the people that are now going to be healed from you. And you might be thinking, well, Christy, I don't run my own company. I don't care. I don't care. You have a 2 and a 4-year-old. You're showing up every day and creating content for your 2 and your 4-year-old, okay? You're in sales because you're selling peas and carrots to your 2 and 4-year-old. You're running, you're the CEO of your household. Just because you don't run some big company with an LLC and you have employees doesn't mean that you don't have to show up every day. Of course you got to show up even harder than I do when you've got a 2 and 4-year-old. Moms. So by me showing up, teaching you how to show up and believing in you and showing you the strength you have in you, you are showing up for others. And by you showing up for your kids, you're raising strong kids. And then your kids are going to go on to be the president of the United States. Or you go on to work in NASA. Or go on to start a flower boutique. Whatever your kids are destined to do, whatever is in their heart. We show up for each other. But that strength, it comes from the bike wreck. It came from the domestic violence situation I was in. It came from having $36,000 stolen from me by somebody I trusted. It came from being in massive debt. It came from me standing in the food bank line. It came from me having to collect Idaho State food stamps in order to eat. All that added up to me standing before you today and spreading the message of hope and healing to you so you can go on to show up for whatever your light is so you can shine your light. This little light of mine. I'm going to let it shine. By me gaining strength from that situation, I was able to gain strength enough to start Code Red, borrow $100,000 from Miles, start Code Red, do the programs I need to do in order to attract you, to take your life back. See, it's really hard to take your life. It's really hard to show up for your 2 and 4-year-old when you feel like garbage. It's really hard to run your company, run your marriage, walk your dog, take care of your elderly mother-in-law, all those things. It's hard when you wake up in the morning with brain fog and your hands hurt and your knees hurt. It's hard when ain't nothing fitting. But by you taking your life back with Code Red, you can more effectively run those other areas of your life. It all goes together. And I don't care. Like, I'm on a lot of podcasts for entrepreneurs, and it always comes back around to real food, water, and sleep, because that's going to help you show up as your authentic self and really truly spread that message of what you are spreading. But if you feel like garbage, if your stomach hurts, and if you're busting it out of your LuLaRoe leggings, and if your head hurts, you got migraines, if you have no energy and you want to take a nap every day at 2, it's really hard to show up and do what you were created to do. So it all goes together. What I do is helping you more effectively do what you do. But I never would have done it had I not had that motorcycle wreck that taught me how strong I am. And now I'm teaching you how strong you are. You feel me? 10poundtakedown.com is to where you go to get started. $47 challenge. We're starting soon. Click the link. Let's go.